Still with us is the former Chief of Staff and Media Advisor to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Aviv Bushinsky. Aviv, we spoke just before the break about Netanyahu and what he wishes to accomplish, but let's speak about the opposition and the protest movement. Let's say, for example, Benny Gantz manages to reach some sort of deal with the coalition about narrowing the legislation or postponing it. To what extent does that satisfy the protest movement? And here is the problem, perhaps. Who is the one who makes the decisions that would satisfy the movement? Who is the one, whether it is him or Yair Lapid, who is the one that could make the decision that would suffice the movement? How is that going to work?
I think it's tough. It's $100 million question, Guy. I think it's a tough question to answer because, first of all, as you mentioned, it's not the ones who oppose the legislation are not. It's not a cohesive or coherent group that says, "Okay, we'll do A, B, C, D," and then it's a done deal. On the contrary, most people fear that it's not only this specific clause; it's the fact that the government attempts to continue with the reforms or with the revolution. And this is just the one step prior to the other phases in the revolution. So I think that whatever Benny Gantz is suggesting is not solid enough or will not bring the ones who are against the legislation, especially, of course, the ones who demonstrate. And it's a huge number. There's something that no precedence to this phenomena in the Israeli history. I think 28 weeks in a row. With 1,000 or tens of thousands of demonstrations, I think that Benny Gantz has no power to lead the group of the ones who are against the legislation. And I think that also on the other hand, from Netanyahu's view, he thinks that, first of all, it's very politicized. It's not only the core issues, the legislation issues, and that after the endless talks at the president's house, they didn't reach any compromise or any decision. So I think that both sides are cornered. And going back to your core question, the only one who can decide whether to do it or not is Benjamin Netanyahu. It has nothing to do with the opposition, has nothing to do with Benny Gantz, even though he enjoys a rise in the polls. And I think that within roughly 28 hours, we'll know the final answer, which is most likely that this legislation will pass.
And Aviv, going back to Netanyahu and his base, we're hearing reports this morning about Yoav Gallant, defense minister, who may not vote with the coalition unless changes are being made. We're also reading the ex-Mossad chief, Yossi Cohen, someone who's considered one of the closest allies of Netanyahu, calling to stop the legislation. How much fear is there that Netanyahu might be losing his own base, whether he'll have the 64 or even the 61 votes in the Knesset tomorrow?
So I think that that's what Netanyahu is focusing, aside to his health condition, is to verify that he'll have the majority in case they're going to go ahead with the legislation today or tomorrow. And I think that at the moment he has. Going back to Yoav Gallant, I think that this is the biggest paradox, because on the one hand, if he fears that there is a danger to Israel's security under the what he hears from the IDF, or the chief of the IDF, he should say so. If not, I think that in his case, he should keep silence, because he already voted in the first round of votes, 1 out of 3. He voted in favor of this specific legislation. So this is a big paradox, what exactly Gallant is contemplating. But if you listen carefully to what we've heard from Netanyahu's allies, is that anyone who vote against it will be fired or be expelled from the party, etc., etc. So I think that at the moment, if I may say, Yoav Gallant is threatening or is talking with an empty bullet in his rifle.
I want to discuss now the security threat. Aviv Bushinsky, we thank you for your insight so far. And speaking about that security threat, as we mentioned, over 1,000 Air Force reservists announced they would end their volunteer duty along with 10,000 other reservists in the IDF, the Mossad, and the Shin Bet. I want to bring in now Major General in Reserves Eitan Dangot, a former military secretary to 3 ministers of defense and former coordinator of government activities in the Palestinian territories. Eitan, good to have you with us.
Hello, good morning.
So this is a worrying development, Eitan. We are hearing these reservists and their genuine concern over the political developments. No doubt they speak from the bottom of their hearts. And at the same time, Israel is facing so many security challenges. Should a war break with Hezbollah or with Hamas tomorrow, would these reservists not defend their own country, their families? How seriously should we take these threats?
First of all, we should take it very seriously because there are some elements that already, I think, has started a great damage to the unity of the IDF. This is the main thing. For now, I don't see in the coming close weeks any kind of damage to the professional capacity of the IDF to react and to respond and to defend or to be offensive. The problem is, first of all, the unity of what has happened, and it's already happened, and I mean in the Reserve Corps and also in the Conscript Corps. It will be a damage that my estimation that we will have to take or to correct it, it will take years because it's something that changed the concept of the IDF from the day of the establishment of the Israeli state. And this is something that brought the first Prime Minister Ben-Gurion, and what happened here, it's just to break it, and we have to create or to architect a new mechanism for what happened now. Secondly, there is a damage with the 10,000 and the others, but today I think the point is not whether you support or you refuse or you support the plans of the government. Today, a ladder is to take the threats, as you said, from the security point. We are surrounded with an aerial threats with the terror, with the Iranian roof that are giving to the terror, and we have to challenge it in a very specific and unity way. This is a letter to Benjamin Netanyahu. We are not now planning anymore. There is one man, one show, one decision. It's not as you talk about, you have Gallant and the others. Gallant, I think, making his job in a very responsible way by understanding that he is one of the only people around the Prime Minister that are looking in a serious with experience and not shouting without anything binding like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. And Benjamin Netanyahu, with a lot of respect, I sat with him many years, knows the things better from all the others. And his end is one decision as the main leader of Israel. He will not be damaged, as people said. The government will not be broken. It will continue. Yep. Now the time for the security.
Eitan, very quickly, I want to speak to you about the IDF the day after. Refusal has always been a major taboo in the Israeli society and in the IDF. Following this day, following this protest, following these letters, where does that leave the IDF? And how should the IDF fight these calls for refusal?
Yes, you're right. The IDF, we have to understand, is a mirror of the Israeli society. And what is coming to the IDF from the conscript is what they are listening, what they are talking. The unity in the conscript is one of the main symbols of the Israel state. From the reserve, I think, the problem is that in the coming days, the coming years, we will see in some decisions a flash of what is happening now. And such kind of flash bring us to a situation like in what happened in when we moved from Gaza to 2005, or in other cases, it divided Israeli society much more now to kind of camps. One is coming from the extremist religious that will impact their very important soldiers, commanders in the IDF. Secondly, you have to do with those who will remember what happened nowadays with Benjamin Netanyahu. Yep. We will, and above all, don't forget that this preparation to change the law of joining to the IDF and give all the religious society full freedom from their duty to the IDF. This is something also should be stopped, unless with it, democracy cannot go without a national or the population army. And a population army cannot work without democracy.
Certainly a very worrying situation. Major General in Reserves, Eitan Dangot, we thank you for your insight.